Today we will be presenting video documentation of a workshop entitled Rethinking Suburban Housing Estates. This workshop took place as part of the After Project, which was a public art event that addressed the unprecedented effects of Ireland's recent economic boom on the rural landscape. It was initiated through the trade programme run by Roscommon and Leitrim County Arts Offices, and in 2008 grew into an artist-led public art event funded by the Arts Council of Ireland. My contribution to this event was a project called the Broken Appliance Depot, which was a project that aimed to present creative solutions to address the reuse of surplus objects and buildings in our communities. And this project consisted of two elements. One was the creation of a solar-powered light installation from disused household appliances that was situated on the side of a proposed ESB pylon in Grange in County Roscommon. And secondly, the rental of an unfinished vacant house in a newly developed housing estate on the outskirts of Boyle in County Roscommon, where workshops and events were held concerned with the management of waste materials and the built environment. These workshops were created and facilitated by professionals who were based in the Northwest region, and Rethinking Suburban Housing Estates was one such workshop.
So I was one of the people who did a series of workshops, and just to explain, the film you're going to see documents in a very short version what happened in these workshops. The one I ran was a series of evenings, 3 evenings during 1 week, and then a Sunday at the end of the week, putting together all the ideas that came up. And it was ultimately I was working as a facilitator as opposed to somebody imparting knowledge. And this project for me is most interesting to do with how decisions are made and who makes decisions and the scale of decision making. The people involved in the workshops were we sent flyers around the town of Boyle, around the housing estate where it was happening. So it was people who were interested in taking responsibility or taking control over decision making in their locality. That ended up being a kind of a rolling group of 8 people. It wasn't always the same people. There was a core of people who came every night. And so it was 8 people around a table brainstorming. And they were just residents in new housing estates, residents in the town, wondering what happens next. At this point, this was 2 years ago, where already in places like County Leitrim there was a huge surplus of empty houses that it became obvious nobody was ever going to buy, so people were living in kind of housing estates with three houses sold, 15 more to sell, and nobody to buy them. So people were already thinking about this at this stage, and this film just documents really a way of making decisions. Turbines between like villages, like they are different houses, but they are not like compared to mini micro ones. Rather than it came up. Not a big one shared between people who do get it.
Structure, rather than sort of like single people, channels, couples, older people.
There's a bit of confusion in my mind if we're designing a brand new estate or just trying to fix this one.
Yeah,
that's never really got resolved.
It's open, but I think it's interesting that the amount of estates like this in Ireland, and they are dysfunctional in lots of ways, and certainly, they're all heated by oil, and it's getting more and more expensive. There are definite problems with them, and an awful lot of them rely on car different. Here, this estate is allowed to be built here because it's beside Boyle, but we kind of figure that there's not many people living here working to Sligo, Carrick, you know, driving distances. So that kind of, that sense that it's, you know, sustainable to build denser housing beside towns is entirely bogus, because a town like Boyle doesn't have huge employment opportunities. So, for me, I think it's interesting to look at the existence of these places and what can be done with them.
Yeah, I'd definitely go for some kind of communal glass house or something in the centre. Like, could be a multi-purpose space, like could be like a composting space. You could have sort of growing around the outside of it, but also, you know, you could have a bar in there with all like wines and beers and stuff that people on the estate make. Kind of have a little shop with stuff, produce and stuff, sell that people on the estate make. And so it's kind of like a total communal space for living.
Yeah, it'd be cool if you had a glass house and then like if you're building one, build it a little bigger and have like a little sunroom in there with a bar and some day tables, and then like you go in there and sit in there on nice days and stuff. Or maybe even that when it was raining.
Like composting, so like a woodland, an area of composting where you could like have your own fuel and stuff to make things.
If there's things that you can't, like, there probably wouldn't be enough composting area for all the wood, and there wouldn't be a turf, and there wouldn't be enough to probably provide all the milk, like space for enough cows and goats to provide all the milk, and all the meat, and things like that. So maybe if there was certain farmers not too far out of town that wanted to do those kind of things or have that on their land, that they could then be allowed to come in and use, like, you know, the TV watching space or the film space. Or the bar, and like have kind of like that swap between sort of more estatey living and farmy living. And then you're not under so much pressure to have all the animals here and have people taking care of them.
The other thing is the densities here that you're not going to, like, it's not going to be self-sustaining, and even if it's all in vegetables, it wouldn't necessarily completely feed you, but it lessens the load of what you're bringing in from elsewhere. Like, instead of what we're doing here, describing for this estate how you plan it to live here in a different way, you could also make a kind of a kit of parts that a community could choose from. So you could choose the crash, babysitting, laundry room attached to pool hall, or you could choose the kind of 15 polytunnels,
and it could still evolve as, you know, it could be a very elderly estate, you know, and yeah, they wouldn't need the crash facilities, but they could use that room for something else, and then, you know, times change, you know, after a few wars happen or whatever, you know, and then next thing you know, oh well, if there's young people in that estate, and that they'll use the room for something else, you know.
So then there's kind of flexible rooms.
That, that could be.
Like, just